Alrighty guys, so hey guys, it's KMCers whatever. I'm KMCers and welcome back to another true crime video. So today we're going to be talking about Michael Walmsley and Janelle Hornickel. Their case is very bizarre, weird, not a normal case, so let's just get right into this case. I think it is a very important case to still talk about, especially during these winter months. Michael Walmsley was born on October 7th of 1984. He was 20 years old. This happened in Sarpy County, Nebraska. His parents were Stephen M. and Gabrielle Walmsley. He did have two brothers, Christopher and Stephen. He was described as he worked in landscape a lot of his younger years. He enjoyed working on old cars. He moved to Oregon when he was 6 years old. That's where he met Janelle. And he moved to Omaha to be with Janelle. Speaking of Janelle, Janelle Hornickel was born on March 23rd of 1984. She was also 20 years old. Her parents are Kent and Twyla, and her siblings are Kathleen, Stephen, Janice, and Deborah, who she never met because she passed away when she was a baby. She was described as a junior in Creighton University. She was a member of a sorority and the business fraternity. She grew up in Oregon. She was a star athlete. She was involved in the drama club, sang in the choir. She was a cheerleader. She planned to graduate and start her career in human resources. And she loved kids and wanted to have a family of her own in the future. They both worked for a telemarketer company. They were always together. Janelle would wake up at 5 in the morning just to call Michael before Michael had to go to work every single day. They were pretty inseparable. So let's talk about the incident that occurred. So on January 4th of 2005, Nebraska got covered in a snowstorm and we had wind chills of negative 10 degrees. Janelle and Michael were headed home to Omaha from Kearney, Nebraska. They got stuck in the snowstorm, and during the whole entire night, they ended up making 5 extremely weird phone calls to 911 asking for help to find their way home. At 7:30 p.m., the couple was pulled over in Geneva for failing to signal and their taillight was out. They told the officer that they were lost. Officers had told them that they were going south when Omaha was east, so they were going the completely wrong direction. They were given a warning ticket and the officer gave them directions to either the highway or the interstate. So I'm not sure if they were trying to take a highway to Omaha or if they were trying to take the interstate. The interstate I think would be the easiest. 5 hours later, 23 miles away from their house at around 12:30 on January 5th, their truck spun off the road. Janelle made the first 911 call, and this is kind of where the bizarre stories began. She told 911 that she was at the Mandalay Apartments in Omaha, and there was a lot of Mexicans and African American people dressed up in cult outfits, and they were moving vehicles and they had locked them. She also stated that they were taking cars apart and putting them in trees. She was referring to the trees at Pendulum Apartments. Michael was heard in the background saying, "Get an officer here now." The 911 dispatch asked how many people were there, and Michael had said 100 to 200 people. 911 dispatched police to the apartments, but it would take them some time to get there due to the weather circumstances. Janelle asked if they could send a helicopter to go above the trees because that's where they were hiding and breaking stuff down. Janelle also said that she needed to start running and got out of the truck and the call ended. Janelle and Michael believe people were in the frigid cold snowstorm and they were out to get them. And that is the reason why they got out of their truck to run into the storm. Police were confused as to how they were at home because Janelle's cell phone was pinging Sarpy County, but the police went to the Mandalum apartments and never found them. There was no sign of them. Nebraska is one of the 9 states at the time that did not have an up-to-date GPS tracking system for cell phones, so they couldn't pinpoint the exact location of where they were. The phone call was kind of bouncing off a bunch of different towers in a bunch of different counties, so it made it nearly impossible for them to find the exact location of where they were. Sarpy County is very large and very hard to just search every inch of that county. So at 1:05 a.m., Michael called 911 and told them that they had left the truck and that he insisted that they were about 3 blocks away from Mandalum Apartments, that they were cold, walking, and going to freeze to death. At 1:30 a.m., Michael called 911 again and said that they were in by a gravel pit and that they were freezing to death. His car broke down and he was calling from a glass 4x4 toll booth like shack. He said that the closest street that he thought he was on, that his truck was stolen and that he was gonna go find it. Police arrived to the location but could not find them. Michael begged for help and the 911 told him that help wasn't far away from him, that I can't help you if you're not going to help yourself, and Michael hung up the call. Police and 911 were very confused and started thinking that drugs might be involved, but they also thought a head injury could be, or even hypothermia itself might be causing some of their confusion. At 1:45, Michael called 911 and told them that 2 people were flashing a light that was on top of the shack. 911 told him to go back to his truck as the temperatures were extremely cold. But at that time he told her that his truck had rolled over on its top. 911 then became concerned that there was leaking gas. So they wanted to speak with Janelle, hoping that Janelle would kind of help them a little bit better, but she was she was just as disoriented as Michael was. So at 2 a.m., Michael was heard telling Janelle to get up. 911 asked if she was laying down, and Michael had said yes, and he yelled in desperation for help. 911 told them that they needed to stay in the shack to protect them from the cold and asked if they had done any drugs that night. Michael had told them that they did not and that they were in an old abandoned lakefront area with cattle and an old gravel pump setup. The last call came in at about 4:20 a.m. when Michael said that he escaped and he needed someone to come and get him. 911 asked if he was out walking again, and Michael said, yeah, it's okay though, because the whole thing will change tomorrow. Everything's going to fit. Police looked all throughout the county, hoping that they found shelter to wait out the storm, but they never found them. Now let's talk about the investigation. Their truck was found upright, parked on the side of the road. Inside the truck, there was a small amount of crystal meth, 90% pure. Winter coats were also found in the truck. There was a half a tank of gas in their truck. Janelle's cell phone was in there, along with additional warm clothing. On January 6th, Michael's body was found covered in snow. Police searched for Janelle, but they couldn't find her. Michael's funeral was held on January 11th. And on January 12th, they found Janelle's body at the edge of a sand pit lake a half a mile away from Michael. They were both found 2 miles from their truck. They both died from hypothermia. Michael was wearing jeans and a hoodie. Janelle was wearing jeans, a hoodie, and high-heeled boots. The couple tested positive for meth, and they believe that it was taken 2 to 3 days before the 911 calls happened. Marijuana and nicotine were also found in their systems. Janelle had more in her system than Michael did, and because they had these drugs in them, caused them anxiety, hot flashes, confusion, and hallucinations. which would explain why they were not dressed for the appropriate clothing for being in cold weather. Very confused and hallucinating, and it probably caused them some anxiety and why they couldn't stay in their truck. There was cattle in the area that Michael's body was found. There's a possibility that he could have thought that they were human beings and he asked for their help, and when they didn't respond and didn't want to help him, he was telling the 911 dispatcher that they didn't understand English or they didn't want to help or whatever, but they were cows. Police found that during Janelle's school break, she did attend some parties. They do believe that she might have tried meth for the first time at these parties around New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. So now I'm going to talk about a trial because they actually found the people that had a party that Janelle and Michael went to. So police arrested a mother, a 56-year-old Judith Morrill, and her 19-year-old son Micah Morrill from Kearney with possession of meth. On New Year's Eve, Janelle and Michael attended a party at their house. The police were trying to figure out if they might have supplied the meth to Janelle and Michael, but I don't know if they ever proved that. I don't know what happened to Judith, but Micah was sentenced to 3 years of intense supervised probation for felony possession of meth. Let's talk about the aftermath real quick, because I think this is crazy and I never knew this until just right now, so I do think that this is important. So one of Janelle's sisters made it a mission to change Nebraska's 911 system to include technology to pinpoint a caller's location. 2019, Nebraska's 911 system was being overhauled as part of a nationwide effort to bring call centers to pinpoint locations of callers. And we received more than $2 million in federal funds, and the goal was to have the system up and running in 3 to 5 years. In 2025, it is still not up and working. We're still in the early stages of it. Now, what I find crazy is if you watch TV shows, if you have always been told when you were a child at least that you call 911 and they can always find you, and there are times that you might be like a burglar in your house and you're hiding and you can't talk. And I was always under the assumption that they can pinpoint your location, they can GPS track you. That is not the case for Nebraska, at least. Maybe in your state it could be, but I know that there was a lot of other states on this list that didn't have that system as well. And so I think it's crazy to me that they cannot GPS locate you still. It is still, they can only find you in a 10-mile radius of where you could be located, and that is a huge problem. Crazy to me that we could have a world where we have cold cases being solved based on DNAs from people in 23andMe and Ancestry, but we cannot have GPS locations. She also did an interview with National Geographic for a program called World's Most Dangerous Drugs. 2020 did an episode called Haunting Words. There is a loosely inspired 2006 movie called Lost Signal, and they also did based on true events of a 2009 movie called Frozen Kiss. So I did just want to point out that the dangers of not having proper gear in a snowstorm, especially if there is going to be a snowstorm, they also advise you to have emergency, extra warmth, have a half a tank of gas. I always have a half a tank of gas in my car, especially during the winter time. You never know, you could be stuck, you could be stranded, and it's going to be really hard for first responders to find you, especially in the circumstances of a snowstorm, a blizzard. And also just don't do drugs. That is scary and that is sad. And I will leave photos of their life. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below what case I should do next, and subscribe if you haven't already. This is KMCers, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.